Hello right bags, it's Jade, welcome to a Cyberpunk video. I haven't really touched this subject, I've got the game, but I saw all the problems and issues and I decided I'm going to have to wait. I've got it on the PS5, but I will end up playing it on the PS4 Pro because my son is getting my PS5. Anywho, boring crap out of the way, just to put that disclaimer. However, of course, I have seen all the nonsense has gone with the launch and how poorly it runs on console and just all the shenanigans and discourse. Whether you like Cyberpunk, whether you don't like Cyberpunk, you cannot argue with the fact that for last gen consoles, Xbox One and PS4 based consoles, the game has been an utter shambles. Bugs, issues, things not working with the game, you can pretty much handle. Hard crashes every 2 minutes? Maybe not. That combination though, with the game looking so bad and running so poorly, I think is a next level, and that's why a lot of people are upset. Plus all the overwhelming hype that was never really going to be sated. But yeah, I've stayed away from it because like I said, other than a few hype videos, I kind of dwindled my interest in it. I realised it was coming out quite late Christmas, and after spending weeks doing guides and tutorials on Assassin's Creed, I was just a bit burned out, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to enjoy this game in January. So there we go, the history of Cyberpunk, for me anyway. What we're really here to talk about today though is the statement from Projekt Red that they have now admitted consoles were not in the right state. They've even said you can get a refund. Dear gamers, we'd like to start by apologising to you for not showing the game on base last gen consoles before it premiered and in consequence not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase. We should have paid more attention to making it play better on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Second, we will fix bugs and crashes and improve the overall experience. The first round of updates has just been released and the next one is coming within the next 7 days. Expect more, as we will update frequently whenever new improvements are ready. After the holidays we'll continue working, we'll release 2 large patches starting with patch 1 in January. This will be followed by patch 2 in February. Together these should fix the most prominent problems gamers are facing on last gen consoles. We will be informing you about the content of each patch ahead of their release. They won't make the game on last gen look like it's running on a high spec PC or next gen console, but it'll be closer to that experience than it is now. Finally, we would always like everyone to buy our games to be satisfied with their purchase. We would appreciate it if you would give us a chance. But if you're not pleased with the game on your console and don't want to wait for updates, you can opt to refund your copy. For copies purchased digitally, please use your refund system of PSN or Xbox respectively. For box versions, please try to get a refund at the store where you bought the game. Should this not be possible, please contact us at helpmerefund@cgprojectred.com and we will do our best to help you. Starting from today, you can contact us for a week up until December 21st, 2020. Humbly, Marcin Wininski, Adam Sinski, Adam, blah 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 blah, basically devs. PS, PC gamers will also be getting regular updates and fixes improving the game. Yeah, you might think, oh my god, Daddy Punk is gonna give us refunds. Actually, this is kind of just as bullshitty. Anyone who knows the refund process on a PlayStation knows how difficult it is to get one. It usually involves you waiting on a phone line for hours or having to send multiple emails because there is no simple process. Xbox mildly fares a bit better, and we'll get to that in a second, but it really is Projekt Red owning up to the fact that they have deceived and lied to players all over the world. Millions of buyers of this game weren't able to see reviews of it on their base system. This was because Cyberpunk refused to give out base console review codes. Funnily enough, this is what I asked for. I didn't get a code and now I'm wondering that's because why? And obviously because I'm not just that big in the Cyberpunk game. The memes are being spectacular and they've been great. One thing that's being compared a lot is that this compared to maybe the Fallout 76 launch. But one thing Bethesda at least did do was warn players that there will be bugs. Literally knowing their game was going to be in such a poor state, Bethesda even said it beforehand that it's going to be a starting line and not the finished game. I think you could even argue there is more credit to be given to Bethesda since it is a live service game rather than Cyberpunk's single player. So yeah, I've seen a lot of discourse back. We were talking about it with the boys last night while we was chatting. It is incredible, the hype and the arguments that have spewed forth, as well as the dickheads that are sending death threats to reporters and reviewers. That crap ain't on, especially also abuse aimed at the developers. But there's no doubt about it, this kind of stuff could have been avoided if Projekt Red had just used their brain a little bit more and not tried to lie to people. All that goodwill they've built up over the years with free content, pro-consumer choices, is literally just been destroyed in one release. It's such a shame. On the flip side, people that have been enjoying the game on console, maybe on next gen, don't see too many of the problems or issues. You'll just be happy that the game's going to get updated even more. Likewise for PC players who have had minimal issues, other than the bugs. Like the bugs is just like a whole new category of thing that we need to talk about. But realistically, that kind of stuff is going to happen in these types of games. And that kind of stuff I expect and don't mind as much if there are problems, as long as it gets patched within a reasonable amount of time. The problem I have with this statement though is that, as I said, trying to get a refund on a PlayStation network is incredibly difficult. I mean, at the moment the PSN network seems to be down and is quite under strain. If you go onto your purchases and you try and do anything, i.e. try and refund it, there is no easy method for this. Trying to do it off a PlayStation is even more difficult. So the idea that players are going to go out their way to go and get refunds is almost laughable. It still involves a huge process of either ringing or sending emails. As I said, there is just no easy way to just get your refund. Unlike on places like Steam, where it's usually 2 clicks of a button, and even then there are stipulations. I don't know where or how PlayStation started issuing refunds for games that haven't been played more than 2 hours, but I've never seen this option appear on a PlayStation game on the console itself. So despite lots of claimants maybe getting their refunds, yeah, good luck with that one. So of course that leaves you with possibly contacting this email. Bearing in mind, we've only got like a week or so before Christmas, and it's only literally like 5 days that they've put this notice out. Help me refund cgprojektred.com. They are going to be swamped with players and people, I'm sure. It doesn't matter if you think Cyberpunk's a great game. I don't give a fuck if you're playing it on a high-end PC and it's working fine for you, or whether or not X-Gen is just okay. CD Projekt Red lied to people. They did not give people review copies showing off the base gameplay. Again, even Fallout 76 had an open beta for Xbox users. It was there, clear to see how poorly the game might end up being or running. The flip side of that, and I'm trying to be balanced, is that players who have bought Cyberpunk have probably been hyped for it for years. They're well on that hype train. And no matter the state of the game, they're going to be committed because they know CG Projekt Red have a history of updating and getting fixes done for their games in the past. But that said, I'm going to have to wait until January now before I even trying it, as I really don't want my experience to be that poor. So the best advice for now is for players to do what you can to get your refunds from either Sony or Microsoft. Microsoft is slightly easier. You can go into your transactions and do the refund there. Usually within 2 weeks you can normally get a refund for as long as it's like under 10 hours or something like that. And if anyone knows a really easy system for the PSN, maybe it's something they just don't have in the UK, then do post in the comment section down below. But overall, I think this is absolute bullshit from CG Projekt Red. If they'd maybe done a disclaimer, if they'd been open and upfront and offered console review codes to console reviewers, I think I could have lived with it all still being quite bad still. But they've done this so they didn't upset their first initial review scores, trying to get as much as possible so they could use it for marketing. And it's really deceiving, it's really scummy. What's interesting is the amount of YouTubers that did get to review it, all now walking back their reviews, but funnily enough, not a lot of them are taking their reviews back. They're all still up on YouTube, they're all demonstrating that on their high-end 3080 whatever processor PC, the game is fantastic, yet still filled with some bugs. If they really want to do a service to players, they should maybe take down them videos, which they won't because they've gained millions of views, and they'll do a proper review, actually showcasing the breadth of how the game plays on all systems. You could argue, yes, well, you're not going to play a console version if you're just a PC player, and that's maybe just about fair enough. But I definitely think a lot of the big top talent in the YouTube game and review circles should be reviewing and taking a look at this again. It's not their fault CG Projekt Red lied to them, and some of them like SkillUp did take a stand and didn't post their initial reviews because Cyberpunk said you had to use their footage. But likewise, there's a lot of review sites out there that should be doing more to highlight how poor the game is on other platforms. Also, bugs aside and problems, it's amazing how many people are also responding now to certain reviews that said the game just isn't that great. As an RPG, a lot of systems in it just aren't utilised that much. Crafting is essentially non-essential, as well as the upgrades for your body. It takes like a huge ridiculous amount of grinding, which time you've probably done the story. So for all them bearded weirdos like the Quartering that gave horrendous times to certain reviewers, I would say a lot of the people that maybe watched that and agreed, go and check the game out now and come back and say whether or not actually GameSpot and other reviews that gave it a medium score were in the wrong. Anywho, just a little bone I've had in my bonnet for a while. Let's get back to the actual console issues. CG Projekt Red should have showed it running on actual proper consoles, not just next gen, and not just comparing it to even like the Pro or the Xbox One. Even them videos floating around that show some of them comparisons, they're obviously heavily chosen as areas that don't dip in FPS or performance issues. Or at the very least they should have put it out on PC, and they said that it will come to consoles in a few months' time. With 8 million pre-orders already done, they've recouped the costs of their game already. Cyberpunk won't give a monkeys about maybe 20,000, 30,000 refunds they might have to do. When you whittle it down to the people that will actually bother going through this, also take into account that if you're not on Twitter, which some people aren't, you may not see anything about this news. So yeah, I think it's pretty scummy. I don't particularly think this is a great moment for consumers just being offering refunds, and I think it almost slaps at the face even more. It's good to know updates are coming, but hopefully that doesn't mean their developers are going to have to crunch stupid hours over Christmas. And yeah, we're going to have to wait, 3 months for a fix for a single player game. They're not even promising that they're going to get it to a reasonable state, just that it will be a bit better. A really crap way to end the year. Cyberpunk was meant to be the last hope, and it's just ended up being a mess. I'm kind of glad I never covered it in a mainstream way. I certainly won't be covering it in a mainstream way in the future, unless they keep on doing crap like this. Let me know, are you happy you can get your refund now? Albeit with maybe a little bit of extra work. Will you be holding it tight, realising that it just happens and some people can make mistakes? The flip side we were talking about last night was, well, maybe investors got involved, maybe there's licensing with the actual CG Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2020 brand. Maybe they had to get it out this year because they just simply didn't have a choice. That could all be understood. So yeah, absolutely a benchmark in not how to launch your game. And fingers crossed a lot of other developers take note. Delays are not great, but delays are better than lying to us completely. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. As ever, I'll be back with mostly survival and open world game news, guides and tutorials. Until next time, ratbags, laters.